Welcome back, my fellow fans of the written word. Today we have something quite different, quite delightful, I might even add. This is To Be or Not to Be, a game book retelling of Hamlet. If you are a fan of offbeat retellings of famous literary work, you are in the right place. The closest comparison I would give this to is Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead, either the play by Tom Stoppard or the really good movie starring Gary Oldman and Tim Roth. And this is a humorous retelling of Hamlet. We will not enable narration because it's fine, but let's have some fun. Yes, thank you. Now we'll be seeing the intro. William Shakespeare, 1564 AD, or whenever he died, was a well-known for borrowing from existing literature when writing his plays. Did he now? Romeo and Juliet is pretty much lifted entirely from Arthur Brooks' poem The Tragical History of Romeus and Juliet. Dude didn't even change the names. That rascal. I like these illustrations of skulls here. They're cute. And as recent Shakespeare scholarship has established, the famed play William Shakespeare Presents Hamlet! Was lifted wholesale from the volume you are about to enjoy, To Be or Not to Be. To Be or Not to Be is both the earliest recorded example of the books as a game genre, sure, whatever you say, as well as the first instance ever in then newish English language that was kicking around of an adventure being chosen by you, the reader. This here is actually an important tidbit because this is a somewhat non-traditional choose-your-own-adventure in which, as much as it matters what you as a character do, you can also at times decide what the reaction of the other character will be. So in that regard, it's different. We've gone ahead and added illustrations. Plus, we've taken the liberty of marking with tiny Yorick skulls, yeah, those here, the choices Shakespeare himself made when he plagiarized this book back in the olden times. This is also an important detail. At any given moment, at any given choice you're presented with, you can choose different things. Now, the skulls mark what would be in character, but you don't have to choose them. As a matter of fact, I often don't. This is my second playthrough because it makes more fun that way. And they look like this, yes, very neat. They're there in the case you wish to put yourself in Shakespeare's shoes, reading this book as he did, stealing plot elements wholesale and classing up the language as he/you went/go. Yes, now let's go. However, that is not the only way to read this book. Feel free to explore your other options. Yes, this is exactly what I said. So assuming you don't read the book 3 million and whatever this ridiculous number is times, at which point the adventure will start to repeat and they'll probably seem pretty familiar long before then anyway. Now, take yourself back to history when ghosts walked the earth and nobody knew velociraptors were even a thing. How tragic. I mean, the existence of velociraptors is kind of marking of a new age, don't you think? Steel yourself to experience the magic of Shakespeare as it was meant to be experienced, in a non-deterministic narrative structure where you end up thinking maybe you made a wrong decision. So you can mark the pages so you can always go back and make a different choice if you die for some dumb reason. To be or not to be, that's the adventure, indeed. This is by Ryan North. I believe he has a webcomic. I can't recall the name of the webcomic at the tip of my tongue. And he claims himself to be a noted Shakespeare scholar enthusiast. So choose your character, man. What if I just read the acknowledgements? Or you can tell me what to do, smart guy. I'm just gonna keep reading. Well, we'll keep reading anyway. So let's go with the flow and choose our character. You have just been born. Congratulations. Good work on that thing. Now, surprise, babies are boring, so we're gonna jump ahead in time to a point where you're an adult and you already lived a bunch of your life. But I promise most of what we're skipping over was really dull. I mean, yeah, fair. You ate a lot and slept a lot and made some friends. Tears were shed, makeouts were totally had, etc. It was a bunch of high school stuff. The awesome stuff starts now. So, let's begin, my friend. Remind me who you are. Are you Ophelia? She's an awesome lady in her late 20s with a calm, competent, and resourceful demeanor. She's got a +1 bonus to science, but she's also got a -1 weakness against water, so heads up. Does that mean she hates to bath? Hamlet. He's an emo teen in his early 30s. Honestly, yeah, even if you look at the original story, although I would mark him as a goth, but I don't know. Maybe. Also, he's the Prince of Denmark, of course. Hamlet has +1 resistance to magic, but there's no magic in this adventure, so this never gets mentioned again as of right now. And Hamlet Senior, he's the King of Denmark, 50 years old. He's super good at fighting and leading men into battle and naps. Let's say +1 to each. I mean, leading men into battle is honorable, but naps, now that's a mark of a true leader. Look, bottom line, he's an unstoppable machine of death, and should you choose to be him, you may experience kingly glory. Play as Ophelia, play as Hamlet, or play as Hamlet Senior. Well, I am going to play as Ophelia because I've read and seen several Hamlet retellings, but none of them really put Ophelia as a central character, and I think she is underutilized in that regard, so let's go with Ophelia. Right, you're Ophelia. You're a beautiful and independent young woman, and although it makes you roll your eyes when you think about it, you've fallen in love with a prince. Prince Hamlet is a funny and charming, and he seems to like you a lot. You try not to get too excited about it because you're worried you might jinx it, but things really are going great. Only it's been hard doing the long distance thing while you've both been at university. And while you've loved studying capital S science, and you're sure Hamlet's loved studying capital U undeclared, a little of a jab at our boy Hamlet here, it hasn't been easy. The eternal student Hamlet. Now that you're both back together in Denmark for his father's funeral and his mother's second wedding, it's been harder still. Hamlet's really sad, and you can't blame him for that since, you know, his dad died. But you wish there was something you could do to help him. When you last saw him, Hamlet mentioned how the castle seemed cold and drafty, and for some reason it stuck with you. You've been sitting at your desk trying to think of something you could give him that would help him with that. A way of cheering him up a little, reminding him he's still got people who care about him. He wears these cloaks all the time, but then he's taking them off in warm rooms and putting them back on in cold ones. If only there was some way you could keep the rooms at a uniform temperature. He wouldn't need to be constantly adjusting his clothes through the day. But to do that, you need some way of measuring heat and a way of transporting it through the castle, perhaps through a series of pipes. Your thoughts are interrupted by a knock at your door. Who is it, you call? Well, what voice will we use for her brother? It's a me, says your brother. Well, apparently he's Italian and he's a plumber. Come on, let me in. Do we let him in? Tell him we're busy. Okay, let him in. You open the door for your brother. You can come in, you say. But I don't want to hear any opinions about my personal If you sleep with Hamlet, you're a slut, he says. Well, not only he's a plumber, he's also rude, so let's slam the door in his face. Bam! That felt good. Laertes shouts through the door that he's sorry and just wanted to say goodbye before he left for France, but when you open the door a crack, he sticks his head in and says, well, before he says anything, that's not a way to say goodbye before he leaves for France. That's not the way to say goodbye to your sister that you're not going to be seeing a lot. That's rude. He's a jerk. I'm just saying, have sex with him and you're damaged goods. Look at him. He's... Oof. What a ruffian. You slam the door in his face again, barely missing his nose. You shout through the door that if you're damaged goods, he's an entire shelf on unsellable eggs that went off weeks ago. Oof. Ooh, that's a good one. And also, as your brother, he's got an entirely unhealthy interest in your sex life. That's also a really good point. What the hell, dude? That's really, really none of your business, is it? Nuh-uh, you're unhealthy, Laertes shouts in return, and then you hear him stomp away down the hall. Well, go away, Laertes. What a jerk. And his retorts don't even make sense. No, they don't. Return to desk, yes. At your desk, you continue your work on the problem of automatically heating the castle. Hours turn into days, and you're generally left alone both by your family and your boyfriend. Your father ignoring you is no big deal, and while you're a little worried about Hamlet not stopping by more often, he has asked you to leave him alone for a while he mourns, and you're respecting his wishes. Yes. But if you're gonna be honest with yourself, you've also gotten really absorbed in this problem. You decide to split the problem into sections, delivering heat and knowing when to deliver heat. It would be possible to put servants in every room and have them report when it's too cold, but that's both expensive and unreliable. It depends on the servant, the warmth of their clothes, how much they love to lie to people about what temperature their skin is sensing, and so on. You're wandering the castle grounds when it hits you. You've been thinking about how water expands when it freezes, and how that could be used to tell you when it's cold, but it's not much use for measuring temperatures outside the freezing point. Your father, Polonius, happens to wander by, talking to himself about the evils of drink, and you realize, alcohol. The right alcohol would expand linearly with heat, and by putting it in a slender glass vial, you could measure the size of that liquid, which would correspond 1-to-1 with temperature. Indeed, put that same markings on each of these glass vials at the same temperatures, and you've got a universal, comparable, and consistent way of measuring heat. You wouldn't have to rely on servants' impression. They could just tell you what line the alcohol has reached. You run back to your room to start working on a prototype. Just as you complete it, you hear a knock at your door. Who is it? You call. And oh my, who should answer from the other side of the door? Seriously, who should answer from the other side of the door? Your boyfriend Hamlet, your father Polonius, your best friend Dromisiamus? Dromisiaomimus? I'll work on that. Let's go with our boyfriend Hamlet. You decide you want Hamlet to be on the other side of the door, open it, and Hamlet really is at the door. That's so freaky. How'd you do that? Hamlet steps in your room. You haven't seen each other for a while. It's so great to see him. You run up and throw your arms around him and you kiss. It's just like old times. But the moment passes. He's so dorky looking at this portrait. And when you look at his face, you can see concern written all over it. He's troubled by something. Do we ask him about what's troubling him or wait for him to tell us? I mean, it's pretty obvious what's the matter, but let's be a champ and ask him anyway. You ask him what's wrong, and, well, there's no other way to put this, so I'll give it to you straight. Hamlet tells you about a spooky ghost and the plan for murdering his stepfather, Claudius, pretender to the throne. I'll be frank, it sounds crazy. A ghost? Murder? But he is your friend and lover, and you're not going to leave him dangling out to dry. As gently as you can, you tell him you're pretty sure ghosts don't exist. But even if they do, he needs to be certain that the ghost he saw was actually the ghost of his father. What if it was some other ghost trying to mess things up? That seems to give him pause. Hamlet admits he never actually asked the ghost for information, only his dad would know. It's possible the ghost could be an imposter. I'll come with you tonight, sweetie, you say. We'll go together, and if a ghost shows up, we'll figure out what to do. You're confident no ghost will appear and that this will all just go away. You take his hand and squeeze. Hamlet looks up at you and you can see his relief. Okay, he says, smiling. I don't know why he sounds like a mixture of Shaggy and Scooby-Doo, but there we go. Where for? Let's go to see the ghost that evening. Evening comes, and Hamlet leads you to the spot outside where he first saw the ghost. We have to wait till around midnight, he says. I think that's when he normally shows up. To pass the time, you play a storytelling game you enjoy, where you say one word of a story and he says the next word, and neither of you knows where the story will go. Once, he began. Upon, he says. You say. Time, he says. There, you say. Was, he says. You say. Beautiful, he says, looking at you. You smile. Prince, you reply, and he smiles back. Who, he says. Wanted, you say. To, he says. Kiss, you say. His girlfriend, he says. That's cheating, you say, and then you're kissing. What now? Make out for a while, don't make out because you can't believe you're thinking this, but what if a ghost catches you making out? Yeah. You turn your head away after a few smooches. That's enough, you say. We don't want your dad catching us making out. Hamlet grins and pulls you close to him. I think he'd be cool with it, he says. What? That's a weird thing to say, but you excuse it because you know people can say some really weird things when they're way horny. You kiss some more, but finally push him away for real this time. What makes you think he wants to spend the afterlife watching us make out, you say? Well, it's what I want to do, he says with a smile. I mean, if I were me and I was also the ghost, he explains. Well, something tells me Hamlet is not the shiniest, the brightest bubble. It's what? If you're also a ghost, but also alive and also him, that makes no sense. You're about to reply when you're interrupted by an awkward cough coming from above you. Looking up, you see what for all the world looks like Hamlet's dad, Hamlet Sr. Only he's transparent and floating and you can see through his bod. What will the dad sound like? He will be, Hey guys, the ghost says. You're too shocked to say anything. Ghosts are real, Ophelia. Surprise. Hamlet looks up at Ghost and waves. Hi, Dad, he says. Do we demand the ghost prove that he who claims to be? It doesn't matter who he is. The real question is this ghost? If this ghost is so big into murdering dudes, why doesn't he just murder Claudius himself? Riddle him that. Well, yeah, but let's go with the most rational thing here and demand proof. Let's demand proof here. Excuse me, you say. The ghost pretends not to hear you. Excuse me, Mr. Ghost, you inquire, raising your hand. Sap, says the ghost. How do we know you're really Hamlet Sr., you ask? Oh, says the ghost. I guess, ask me some things only Hamlet's dad would know. You do so. They're pretty boring questions about family junk. You're not missing out on anything by me not including them there. And the ghost answers them perfectly. Better still, he answers them as only Hamlet Sr. could answer them, and even makes a reference to a running joke you two had a few months ago. I can't gobble this, says the ghost, and then together the two of you shout, It's too spicy! And then you're laughing like what you just said is the funniest thing ever in time. I don't get it. I guess you had to be there? Anyway, this is totally the ghost of Hamlet's dad. Identity confirmed. Let's talk about murder then. A light subject for a chat. You go over the basics of the murder plot with the ghost and Hamlet. And surprise, you see some flaws in it that Hamlet somehow missed. So Hamlet is supposed to murder Claudius, you say. Yes, Hamlet and the ghost reply in unison. Then they notice they replicate in unison and fist bump each other. Yeah. Okay. Is the game bugging out? Well, the ghost's fist goes through Hamlet's fist and stops a little inside it, but you can see what they were going for. And then Claudius will be dead and Hamlet will be king, you say. Yes, Hamlet and the ghost reply in unison again. And then they fist bump each other again, and it's even more off this time. They're not even aligned horizontally with each other. Come on, guys. So what's to prevent Claudius from becoming a ghost and seeking his own revenge, you say, raising one eyebrow? Says the ghost. In fact, can ghosts kill each other? Because then the best case for us is that one of you ghost kills the other and then considers himself revenged. Worst case is that you can't kill each other but instead exist as ghosts forever, which means that the two of you, each with an endless list of sins from long before anyone left alive was born, will continue to meddle in the living world, revenging yourself against each other back and forth for millennia to come. I think the ghost begins, then coughs. No, yeah, I think you only become a ghost under certain circumstances. Like being murdered when you still have things you want to complete on this mortal plane, you ask? Oh, right, that applied to Claudius too, the ghost says. Huh. Wherefore, let's continue talking the ghost out of murder. Even if we take all the ghost creation issues out of the equation, you go on, there's still the matter of revenge, on its own not being an ethical act. Not to mention the complicated issues surrounding vigilante capital punishment, the ghost says. Exactly. I'm sorry, Ghost King Hamlet. That's a great idea, great name idea for a band, Ghost King Hamlet. I imagine them playing something like a doom metal band or even a stoner band. Yeah, but I don't think this is a super rad idea, you say. Prince Hamlet nods in agreement. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Well, do what you can to punish him for my murder though, cool? The ghost says. You agree to work to uncover proof of the murder and then work within the legal system to achieve a fair punishment for Claudius. Sounds reasonable, says Ghost. Alright, I guess I'm out. Thanks for the talk, I found it really useful. You and Hamlet do some legwork and track down where Claudius got the poison. The poison monger identifies Claudius in the lineup. Even though he's the king, Claudius is not above the law and the case goes to court. The prosecution has no witnesses to the actual murder, but means, motive, opportunity, and tons of circumstantial evidence. Claudius is found guilty of regicide and sentenced to 30 years in prison. He's sent to Verona, where he won't get any special treatment from the two gentlemen drafted to guard his cell. Aha! Hamlet's father is still dead. Well, yeah. And this won't bring him back, but on the other hand, he's also a ghost and you can talk to him at night. It's pretty fair verdict, measure for measure. 100 out of 100 legal justice points. So, turns out we scored possible 100 out of 100 in legal justice points. How rad. Adventure points plus 3. Only 3. Okay, man, that's baloney. This is what you get for working within the pre-existing legal system instead of employing unpredictable vigilante adventurism. Am I right? The end. Yeah, well, we get a fun illustration here. Yeah, cool. Congratulations, artwork unlocked. You found a piece of artwork. Yes, we did. So let's see how we score on the Hamlet-o-meter. It's time for the Hamlet-o-meter. What shall it be? To be, hot stuff, wild thing, kissable, ho-hum, cold fish, or not to be? Game over. Fist bump 2. Choices made 14. Times you were 1. Times you were not 0. Games of tennis played. Wait, there's tennis? Rosencrantzes 1. Guildensterns also 1. Well, you created. Congratulations, you created a better story than Shakespeare. Why not use your limitless power to go on all new adventure? We start from a checkpoint. We start adventure. Show me credits. Well, we will be playing as other characters just to satiate my curiosity, but for today that would be it. This was to be or not to be a really neat game adventure game. I'll be linking it in the description if you're interested in buying it. It's available on Steam. I got it off Steam. And thank you guys for watching, and see you next time. Bye bye.